Ministries, and today I've got an exciting devotional for you today. We're going to be talking about those dreams, those visions, that promise that the Lord's given you. Well, payday is coming. That new job He's been talking about, that new house, that new opportunities that's coming along that He's promised you, He's given you that word. It's here. It's arrived. Now, what do you have to do? You've got one of two responses, all right? The right response and the wrong response. Well, we're going to look at a story where we have both of those responses and we can learn from them. Our story is about the 12 spies. Who are the 12 spies? Well, it's when Israel has come out of Egypt, okay? And then God said, okay, now take 12 people, one man from each of the tribes. There's 12 tribes, so there's 12 men, okay, to go over to the land, spy it out, come back and give a report. Okay, now they're gone for 40 days. These guys have been running around, sneaking, kind of checking things out. They come back with a big old thing of grapes, a vine that two of them had to carry, all right? And now they're giving their report. Now, this is where we pick up verse 27. Listen to this. Then they told him and said, "We went to the land you sent us, and it truly flows with milk and honey. And this is the fruit." They brought back some fruit from it, okay? Verse 28. Now listen to the next words out of their mouth, okay? Nevertheless. What does nevertheless mean? It means but, okay? It was great, but, now listen what they're saying. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. And then they go on to say this in verse 31. "Oh, we are not able to go up against these people, for they are stronger than we are." And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, "The land though which we have gone and we have spied out in that land, it devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are of great stature. There we saw giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight also." Oh my goodness. Okay, so these guys, they go out for 40 days, they spy the land out, they find out that it has great fruit, it's neat, and they bring it back, and they say, yeah, it's got all this but. All right, God gave them a word a long time ago, okay? He gave it to Abraham. He says, I'm going to give you this promised land, a land that overflows with milk and honey. I'm going to give you houses you didn't build, wells you didn't dig, and vineyards you didn't plant. And He's going to bring them into it. Okay, these people, all right, they're not just going on blind faith here, okay? These people were in Egypt, okay? They're the ones who Moses came in and he brought them out. They're the ones who saw the 10 plagues. They saw all these great things that God did. They saw God part the Red Sea, and they walked through dry land like this, and they're looking at big walls of the sea up on either side of them. They're going through. They saw when they got through, God knocked the water down on the chariots behind them of the Egyptians and killed all of them. They've only been a couple of months from this big event here, okay? And now the payday has come, and they're looking at it from their perspective. They're saying, well, we can't do this. I don't know if they were thinking maybe God was going to do some great plague miracle thing like He did in Egypt, or what He was going to do. Maybe they thought there was going to be no work on their part. But when they looked at it, they thought, oh, we can't do that. And that's where they went wrong. They said, we can't. They didn't look up to God and say, He can. So obviously, this is the wrong response in our own life. When God brings along that thing that He's been giving you that word for, when that promise is coming, when delivery time has come, payday is here. You don't look at it, and if it's a new job opportunity or an interview that's coming up, you say, oh, I don't think I'm qualified for that. I shouldn't go there and do that. Or a new person comes along, I don't want to date them. What if they're the wrong one? What if they're the right one and you're not even giving them a shot? that. You never know. God will bring things into our life and He'll require something on our behalf. It's going to require a step of faith, and that's going to be very difficult for you sometimes. Hey guys, don't make the mistake of expecting God to do things exactly the same way as He's done them before in the past. God likes to be exciting and new. He wants you to depend upon Him. He doesn't want you to think you can figure out how He's going to do something. He's going to do something new and different. It's a brand new day. He says, forget about the past. I'm moving you forward. Can't you see? I'm doing something new. Look for God's hand in it. Watch for Him leading you and guiding you through His Spirit. However, that's not where the story ends. We have another example we can look at, and that is 2 of the spies. 10 of them said, we can't do it. 2 of them had a different response. Listen to this in verse 30. It says, then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let's go up at once and take possession, for we will be able to overcome it. See, he knew. God said it, so it can be done. Not because of who they are, but because of who God is. He was looking up at His source. God is His source. He knew they could go forward and go into that land. He was looking at God as His victor. That's what we need to do. We need to realize in our own life, it's not what we can do. It's not in our ability. A lot of times, honestly, we're just going to be plain scared to death to move forward as to what God is asking us to do. Sometimes He'll ask us to move forward, having given us a word back here, but we don't see anything right here. We're walking by faith, not by sight. And sometimes we try to do the opposite. We try to walk by sight and not by faith, and that doesn't end up too good, guys. So what happens when we act in negative faith, when we don't move forward, when God is telling us to move forward, when He wants us to put His trust in Him? Well, there's consequences, guys. My husband says this all the time. We can choose the sin, but we can't choose the consequences. And this is what happened with Israel that day when they decided to go forth a negative faith and say, we can't do it. So God says, okay, you'll stay in this desert for 40 years. It's 1 year for every day you spent in that promised land that I showed you that I was going to give you. And just as God spoke, everybody that was 20 years of age and above died in that desert over the next 40 years. The exception was Caleb and Joshua, the 2 spies who went into that land, who saw it and said, God can! And He preserved their lives. God preserved their lives to be able to go forward. In fact, Joshua was the leader to bring them across the Jordan into the promised land. They believed. They knew God could. In your life, you have to move forward in faith. The Bible tells us in Hebrews, for without faith, it is impossible to please God. A perfect example is the Israelites here. They all died because of their negative faith. All of them except 2. Joshua and Caleb, and then the children who were under 20 years of age. They went into the promised land. They never for 1 minute thought that they were not going to enter the promised land, that God was not going to deliver it into their hands. They learned from mom and dad's responses over there, okay guys? That's an example for us too. If we can learn from someone else's experiences, do so. Don't go through it yourself, okay? In your life, God will never show you everything up front. I've learned that in my own life. He's expected me to move forward in faith, not knowing the whole picture, but taking those steps of faith. And when I do, oh my goodness, the blessing is unbelievable. Doors open that you could have never expected. Expect the blessing when you move forward in faith with the Lord. He wants to bless you. He wants to give you favor. He wants to give you victory in life. Be a Caleb, be a Joshua in your life. Don't be like those other 10 spies who no one even remembers their names, right? We remember Caleb and Joshua. Why? Because of the strength that they showed in God, the faith that they showed in the Lord, that they knew God can do anything. Believe, trust, and move forward in faith. This has been Tracy from Esther 414 Ministries.